Have you ever noticed how every generation thinks they've invented being a problem? Like, oh no, teenagers are reckless now. They're sarcastic, they don't respect institutions, they smoke things they shouldn't, say things they definitely shouldn't, and somehow still end up running the culture? Yeah, cool story. In 1901, America handed the White House keys to a 17-year-old girl. Smoked cigarettes on the roof, carried a gun in her purse, kept a pet snake named Emily Spinach, and openly mocked some of the most powerful men in our country. Her name? Alice Roosevelt. Her father? Theodore Roosevelt. And she was the original teenage dirtbag. This is a story about a girl who didn't rebel against authority. She grew up inside it and treated it like a joke that wasn't very funny. She was rich, famous, angry, and she didn't care if you liked her. If you think TikTok teens are out of control now, wait until you meet the first one who ever went viral before viral existed. This is Alice Roosevelt. You're listening to the Bunker Buddies podcast.
I don't want to start a panic or watch the whole world burn. Just shine a little flashlight on secrets we never learn. Down in the bunker, buddies, where the shadows love to stay. Murder myths and monsters keep the daylight far away. So pull the door and lock it tight. Let the static fade to black. There's no turning back.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am your host, JD, and welcome to the Bunker Buddies podcast. I'm here today with Texas from Beer, Beans, and Bullets. All right, so today we've been kind of going back and forth with this teenage dirtbag, satanic panic kind of themed series that we have going on, and I want to kind of wrap this series up with talking about the OG, or at least in my opinion, the OG teenage dirtbag, Alice Roosevelt. So, Texas, I don't know, obviously, you know Teddy Roosevelt, very famous president, has some crazy stories in himself, but do you know much about Alice?
I can give you very little information, but I can give you the flavor of her personality and character.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like during the feminist movement, she was hailed as one of the heroes back in the day. Everyone pointed to her because she was pretty rambunctious. It's one word that they used. She was essentially a wild child, and she was described one time. There's a quote. I don't remember who said it, but there was a quote that some politician made, and it was to the effect of, "She's a hellion who's capable of doing anything to anyone at any time." Like, if that doesn't describe her character, that's pretty much it. And I think what further reinforced that was the fact that her mother passed away like 2 days after she was born. Same with Teddy Roosevelt's mother as well.
Yes.
So
we're gonna get into all this, and I'm really glad that you kind of have at least a taste of who Alice Roosevelt is. I just find her life very fascinating. I want to start off with how Teddy met his wife. So in 1878, Theodore Roosevelt met his wife Alice at Harvard. Alice was introduced to Teddy through her cousin, who I put his name in here because I think this is the main character of the story because he has one of the greatest names in all of history, and it's because rich people, for whatever reason, have the greatest names ever. Her cousin's name is Richard Middlecock Staltonstall, but I just think it's funny because his nickname was Dick, so it was just Dick Middlecock. And I was
cool.
I was like, what a great name.
Bet.
But anyways, he introduces them. They get married in 1880. Born on February 12th, 1884, Alice loses her mother 2 days later, along with her grandmother, Theodore's mother. Her father, Theodore Roosevelt, is an emotional wreck, writing in his diary, "The light of my life has dimmed generally," and it just had a giant X over the date in his journal, which I was like, wow, as a man who obviously back then you had a very standard of what men do and do not do, and I was like, that's deep. And I mean, he obviously didn't really know how to express that emotion because he ditches Alice with his sister and takes off to Montana for a couple years. So he also refuses to use the name Alice anymore. He said that name has died and would only refer to Alice as daughter or mouse.
Baby Lee was another name.
Baby Lee was also very popular that he would use. Her siblings, however, would name her sister. So she would just always be referred to sister, Baby Lee, daughter, mouse, but never Alice. So I think this is a very important part of her story because I think this also puts that little thing in her head that no one's ever going to call you by your name. So I was like, it's really interesting. We jump a little bit to the 1890s, unsupervised, kind of unhinged, raised by relatives. Aunt Anna, or also known as Aunt Bi, because she was just constantly just all over the place. So it was just like, hi Anna, bye Anna. So she got the nickname Aunt Bi. From 1884 to 1886 until Teddy remarries. So I mean, this is kind of moving really fast. I mean, obviously she was a very young child, but going from living with relatives to being back with your father, who now has a new wife, who also is his ex. They kind of had a little fling before he met Alice, who even to the day Teddy died said Alice was the love of his life, which also has to also be kind of fucked up as your partner just being like, yeah, nah, this is choice number 2 here.
That's old backup.
old reliable.
That's fucked up. Also, we should probably mention that when he left to go to Montana, where did he leave from? They were in New York, right?
Yeah, New York.
Okay. Just so that way people kind of have a setting of when this 1800s time period was.
Yeah, so this is New York. He leaves New York to go to Montana. I mean, you look at this time period of what he's actually doing in Montana, I mean, he's basically just being like, I'm going to go get drunk and fight outlaws.
He becomes what we have in modern times as Batman. That's 100% what he does. Because when he comes back to New York, he does just that. This is when he's running around the streets with fucking a billy club.
Yeah.
No guns, just a billy club, and is beating the absolute shit out of drunk people, out of people who are committing petty crimes, beating the shit out of them and taking them to jail. It's almost insane, the fact that this guy has a complete, I wouldn't say character switch, but that he becomes a little unhinged also. He just dives super hard into his, what people call today as toxic masculinity. But,
oh, yeah.
But anyway, he's just pretty manly man.
Yeah, but I mean, after all that, he comes back, he gets remarried, he starts taking care of Alice, his kids, and his new wife's kids, his stepchildren. Mm-hmm. Alice is then kind of, it is told that she was a smart, sarcastic, angry, just fake politeness child, I guess a know-it-all would be the best way to put it, as a child who she was smart and she had great potential, but she was too smart for her own good, which I thought was very funny, that people were like, dude, this freaking kid just needs to shut up. She was very opinionated. She was quoted on saying that if women could become president, she wanted her Aunt Bide to become president because she had very strong morals. So I was like, that's really interesting. I think she was very like forward. I mean, she was very well read. 1897, Teddy becomes vice president under William McKinley, and Alice doesn't like it. Alice is very vocal about being like, oh, so you got second? Sucks. And she is her father's biggest hater. Like, which honestly, it's a great, I think is a funny like father-daughter relationship for the fact that like, usually like with family, you're like, oh, I support anything you do. Dude, this kid was just like, only vice president? Shit, damn. Dude, just undermining him at every step.
Pretty fucked up.
But I just thought it was funny because she's, damn. But I mean, she wasn't a fan of McKinley either. McKinley is also later then assassinated. He steps up into the presidency in 1901. Alice is 17 years old. She's like, finally, we got the White House. When her and her brother kind of heard the news that McKinley was assassinated, it was stated that they danced with joy before putting on like long faces.
Whoa.
And these are just like teenage kids being like, woo! But also like, I don't know.
Was it because their father is not going to be president, or was it just because they just had that much disdain for him?
Yeah, I don't know.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. However, speculating from everything that I do know from just this research, Alice is just a hater on everybody who's not her father, and her father like 10 times, because I mean, we'll learn on that he reruns and she doesn't like that. She hates anybody else who gets the presidency. Like if he gets beat, she goes, who the fuck is this? Come on. And so she's very like back and forth with a lot of it, where she's all like, nah, I don't want you to be president, but this guy. So I think that's very funny. The press immediately gets like kind of like really obsessed with her at this time. So they're like, the 17-year-old girl, very outspoken. She shouldn't really be outspoken. They're like, this is news. This is really something that people want to hear about. She becomes one of the most famous teenagers in the country. From 1901 to 1909, this is kind of like a broad spectrum that I have, just because these are just random facts. Because it's just stuff that Alice does, stuff that she's not supposed to, from smoking cigarettes on the rooftop of the White House. She keeps her pet snake, Emily Spinach, in her purse. She was banned from the White House for a period of time because she couldn't stop smoking cigarettes on top of the White House. So I was just like, cool.
kind of an odd thing to get thrown out for.
Yeah, well, the thing is that Theodore Roosevelt was quoted telling her, you can't smoke under my roof. So she went and did it on top of his roof, and he didn't like that either. So I was like, savage. She carries a revolver in her purse. She would attend late night parties with men twice her age, and then she would turn around and inform paparazzi of her location under an alias to collect money for like these tips of where like, oh, where's young Alice going? And she'd be like, yeah, Alice is going over here to this nightclub, and just collect these money through friends and stuff, and then go. And the paparazzi's basically paid for her to go party and drink. She would bet on horse races, which was very frowned upon because women shouldn't be smoking, and two, shouldn't be gambling. She was banned from driving because she apparently was a very aggressive driver.
Imagine that.
And also, women weren't like, it wasn't very popular for a woman to drive anyways, but apparently she was very fast and did not have any regard for anybody else on the road.
Typical woman. Gotcha.
She would publicly mock politicians. And then she's quoted, one of her favorite or like famous quotes that she's quoted is, if you can't say something good about somebody, sit right here by me. Which honestly is me 100%, because I love to just people watch and talk shit. It's one of the best things in the world.
And it's free.
And it's free. 1905. So this is more dialed in. You got something?
I was gonna just say, do you have any quotes from her stepmom? Because I've got one.
Oh yeah, let's go a couple quotes from her stepmom.
Her stepmom described Alice as being like a young wild animal that has put on good clothes.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. And then also, before we get further along, when Teddy Roosevelt was the governor of New York when she was 15, they tried to quell some of this wildness that she had, right? Kind of, she's been rebellious this entire time. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that he hasn't tried to stop it. He's just kind of realized that it's not really a way to stop it because she continues to think out of the box. They threatened to send her to a very conservative disciplinary school in New York when he was governor. And she said that she's not going to do it. She actually wrote a formal letter, and it says, quote, "If you send me, I will humiliate you. I will do something that will shame you. I tell you, I will," unquote. The Roosevelts back down shortly afterward. So, like, that's... this is not just flavor. I mean, these are actual events. This isn't like, hey, let's sit here and glaze this young lady. This is how she was.
Yeah, she was just very stubborn-headed, and I mean, wow, where would she get something like that?
And she was also quoted by her stepmom as being called a gutter snipe. Have you ever heard this word?
Yes, I have.
Because she roamed D.C., quote, "uncontrolled with every boy in town," unquote. Mm-hmm. So pretty crazy for the time, because women were meant to look pretty and shut up, and she was everything but
that. During Teddy's kind of presidency, because of how crazy Alice was getting, because Alice not only was going to these clubs and betting on horse races, she was also she would go to some parties as a cigarette girl and would sell shots and cigarettes to patrons. And why would you do that if your father's the president, right? That's not a really good look. So, politicians, higher-ups, would go to Teddy and be like, hey, you got to control your daughter. And he's quoted on saying, he's like, I can either control Alice or I can run the country, but I cannot do both.
That's a hell of a fucking statement. It's like, it's easier to run this country than it is to get this kid to do what I need her to do. What do you... For all the people that are listening, that if you have a wild child, just know that apparently you're not alone. That she may have been a super extreme version of this, but apparently this has gone on for quite a while anyway.
So what I think is really funny, and what this next story kind of reflects, is usually Secretary of Wars are not very easygoing. They're very strict. They're very straightforward. They put their thumb down, and that's what it is, right? Well, in 1905, Teddy needs to kind of cultivate ties with some foreign allies, and the best way to do this without stirring big public uprise is, we're actually just sending Alice over there. Alice is just kind of going on a trip, but they're sending other high political figures over there as well, senators, representatives, to go and talk to higher ups, but they kind of cover it as, Alice is traveling, we just have these people looking after her. The one person they did send to watch after her, which I think is hilarious, who is supposed to Alice, we have this schedule we have to keep, whatever, blah 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 blah, is they sent Secretary of War William Howard Taft to go and watch her, which Taft, according to legend, was a very heavy set president. He was also rumored to be craned out of his tub during his presidency, which is a whole other thing. He's a funny guy. But if you just imagine this big old potbelly guy running around Europe and Asia chasing this 18-year-old girl around trying to control her, is hilarious to me. Because, I mean, even before leaving the country, they took a train west to get to the ship. During this time, it's the 4th of July, and Alice is like, you know what? We need fireworks. So she starts setting off fireworks and firing her revolver off the back of the train.
No gun safety at all. Gotcha.
No gun safety.
This is in a time in Europe where guns weren't banned. So
yeah, I mean, and then during this time, she also meets emperors, royalty, world leaders. She breaks a lot of diplomatic rules constantly. She's flirting with a senator or a congressman that is also going over there, and she's like sneaking around with him. And Taft is trying to separate those two. During their time on the steamship, she jumped into the swimming tank fully clothed with a white silk skirt and a blouse on.
Oof.
It was a dare, but she did dare herself to do it.
Got you.
It still somehow charmed everyone on the ship. And I just think that's the funniest thing, is because I was reading this and I go, oh, she was dared to do it. Oh, no, she dared herself to do it in front of other people.
I mean, she's pretty irreverent, and that 100% fits the mold.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
The next year, in 1906, she marries that congressman, Nicholas Longworth, whom she was running around the world with. This was a very political marriage. There was very zero chemistry. She then continues to party and flirting and ignoring all the norms of just being a wife. This marriage was also, Teddy was quoted on being like, oh, she's good. She's taken care of. She has a husband. This will settle her down. It did not.
Did not work.
The next year, in 1907, she gives birth to her daughter, Paulina. Widely believed the father is not her husband. She names the child after the rumored real father, the Idaho Senator William Bohr.
Yeah.
And I think that was also, like, it's funny now, but I would be very upset because she was going around being like, I don't know, it could be. Oh, and she was just playing coy with the fact that they'd be like, hey, Alice, did you cheat? And she goes, maybe, who knows? Oh, I don't know, he's a very handsome man. And that, to me, like, I was like, that's crazy.
That, yes. If there were red flags, that's probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
Because to me, being irreverent, and again, this is, everyone's got their own personal lines that they draw, but to me, that would have been the one. It's like, I don't care if you go out there and do these little political stunts or whatever, but to me, that's crossing a pretty major line. And the fact that her husband put up with it is insane to me. There's not a lot that covers kind of his take on it. I know he was pretty upset about it, but there's this public image of Alice where even though she's doing these crazy things, the media at that time still considers this to be, this is just her, it's like if it's, how do I explain this? It would be the same as saying, this mischievous little girl, right? Even though she's not, she's already a woman at this point, already married. But that's just how she is. You know how it goes. And they're eating it up. They're selling it. This is them being able to sell like their newspapers, tabloids, that kind of stuff. Which I hate to be the one guy to say that this is too far, but that's kind of where I sit. Everything else seems like, she's just a wild child, but at this point, I'm like, this is too much just for me, though.
Yeah, it goes pretty far. I honestly, it's something that, like, I'm like, it's kind of funny, but also at the same time, like, I'm like, dude, where do you draw that line? And she goes over this line a couple times throughout her life. During the 1909 kind of Taft presidency, Alice didn't really like Taft or his wife, so she would make voodoo dolls of them and would bury them in the garden of the White House. Because of that, she was banned from the White House again.
The same guy that was running around like Europe chasing after her to keep her safe.
Yeah, she didn't think that he should be president. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We're going to jump. 1912, Theodore Roosevelt kind of runs for president again under the Bull Moose Party. Alice, as I mentioned earlier, doesn't like this and refuses to support him. This actually fractured their relationship permanently. And then Woodrow Wilson also banned her from the White House during this time because she would be making inappropriate jokes in the White House at his expense. And he's like, yeah, you can't do that. He asked her to stop, and she kept doing, like, kept coming over to parties and kept being like, and kept poking him, but he's like, you gotta stop, and she did, and he's like, you gotta go.
Yeah. Just sit back there screaming out, security, and just get rid of her.
Yeah. I honestly, at that point, I feel like security has to know Alice by, like, a first name basis and just be like,
Probably.
that girl. Huh?
Everybody has to know her at this point, right?
Oh, yeah, everybody. I mean, you had czars naming ships after her at one point.
Interesting.
And, like, she got, like, crazy gifts.
Did you know that, talking about that she had so much fan mail while Roosevelt was president, they had to hire a secretary just to handle all of her fan mail.
Nice.
Fucking wild.
Dude, she was Paris Hilton before Paris Hilton.
Yeah. I mean, that...
Just being famous for being famous kind of thing?
That's yeah, I'd say that's kind of probably the best way to equate that, yeah.
Because I'm like, dude, this is just this girl just being like, I know when she was over in Europe, I know a lot of people in the UK didn't really like the fact that the tabloids were calling her Princess Alice.
Yes.
Because they're like, she's not royal, but everybody's like, she's American royalty. We're like, hell yeah. No one argued it. But it upset the British, and that's what we cared about.
Yeah, that's fine. No one cares. That's fine.
Going to like the 20s and 40s, she's no longer a teenager, but she kind of keeps that attitude. She hosts pretty brutal political salons in D.C. Politicians fear her opinions. Obviously, she keeps grudges forever. She's very vocal of her hatred towards Franklin D. Roosevelt, and actually kept a voodoo doll of Eleanor Roosevelt. So I don't know. She didn't practice any voodoo, but she just made voodoo dolls for people because, I don't know, she thought it was funny, I guess. Well, which also kind of funny.
Well, it's strange because like we mentioned this voodoo doll thing several times. There are other things that I've read over time that do mention that she had, at the time, everybody was considered a Christian, right? Christian nation thing.
Yeah.
But she was a self-proclaimed pagan. So I don't know if pagans do voodoo. I don't understand if that's part of the thing or if it was just for drama. Like
I think it was a little bit of both. I don't think there's not a lot of voodoo, but it is definitely more of just like there are spirits and entities that you could call upon, and I mean, we get that more in like the New Orleans, and again, this ties in with the whole being a teenage dirtbag and satanic panic is we're using these evil things to cast evil upon other people.
Well, she publicly said that before that Christianity was voodoo. It was she said, which is the equivalent of basically standing in the middle of the any political arena screaming out some racial slur at this point. Like that's essentially the same thing. You are making yourself a well-known, not politically cool target. So anyway,
yeah, no, 100%. And I mean,
I'm talking about like I keep mentioning like these real world, like it's one thing to think she's just a rambunctious kid, but she's no longer a child at this point. She's now a woman,
an adult. Yeah, and I mean, it becomes a big issue because she's doing all these things, being very vocal about this. But you also have to realize that she does have a child. Yeah. That she's not taken care of. Mm-hmm. This becomes a big issue further down the line, and I mean, it's a direct representation of what happened to her when she was younger. Of just, I'm just gonna pass this off, and just kind of make it somebody else's problem. But I mean, it ends up coming back to haunt her. I believe it was. I didn't put this in my notes, so I don't know if you have it. I believe it was 54. Her daughter Paulina ends up dying, and Alice then becomes like, "Oh, my daughter," and kind of like switches her. She not necessarily like completely calms down and like repents or like softens, but she kind of just kind of slows down a lot of her shit.
The reality of the loss of somebody that you made, I think, would do that to anybody. But yeah, it did kind of take dull the edges on her character a little bit, so to speak, because this is a little bit of a reality check for her.
Yeah, and I mean, It does slow her down. I mean, she still ended up going to political events in her 80s. She was saying unhinged things until like the day she died. Never really apologized. Trashed JFK publicly. Becomes basically a historical landmine where if you just crossed Alice on just the wrong day.
It goes back to what they said before, earlier in her life, which is she's capable of doing anything to anyone at any time.
100%. And she did, up until the day she died in 1974. She died at the age of 90.
Bro, to think about all the things that she lived through as well, right? She, from the early 18 or late 1800s, early 1900s, right, to watch the assassination of several people, like other because she's in the political spectrum, right? Whether she wants to be or not. How many assassinations she's seen, the growth of technology, the changing world, all these different leaders, meeting all these people. Think of just the amount of history that she witnessed as her own person, which is also, I mean, pretty crazy.
Both world wars.
Yep.
McKinley's assassination, JFK's assassination. His brother's assassination, yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Where we went through, what? Korea, Vietnam. Because when did we get out of Nam? That wasn't until later, right?
Nam was like in the early 70s. It depends when you want to talk about us getting officially involved versus what we had as advisors.
Because we kind of got out in like mid to late 70s, right?
Right.
So she probably died about like towards the end of the Vietnam War. We were still pretty active, but that's crazy. From World War I to Nam.
Right. And everything in between, World War II.
Everything in between.
Now, this is also, like, there's somebody that's out there that made a list of all the parties that she went to and had a list of, like, all of these things that she attended.
That is crazy, really?
Yeah, there's the last current count. I have it right here. The last current count, because I knew this would come up eventually.
All right, guys, hold on. We're going to stop the show really quick. I don't usually push stuff, but I've been rocking this really cool cowboy snapback. And I genuinely like how it fits, how it holds up, and how it doesn't feel cheap. It looks great, and it doesn't feel like one of those flimsy foam promo hats. I really encourage you guys to go check it out on their website, cowboysnapback.com. If you use my promo code, Chuggers15, you'll get 15% off your order. Now, that's it. That's all I wanted to plug. It's a great hat. I highly recommend it. If you haven't seen me wear it, go check out on my Instagram, all right? That's it. We're heading right back to the show.
All right, so this was in a 15-month span. This was prior to her getting married, right? This is what she did before she got married to Deborah or Bora, I think was his last name. She had, in a 15-month span, reportedly showed up to 407 dinners, 300 parties, and 350 private balls.
So this is between her two husbands, yeah?
This is prior to her first husband.
Oh, fuck.
This is what she did before getting married.
Sick.
And of course, being married into political stuff, obviously it's only going to further escalate from there. But this is her before she becomes, well, what we consider to be like full-on woman now, because she's married, has kids, all that. She's still doing other things.
She's going to all these parties, doing all this stuff. Again, she's selling her information to the tabloids to get money, which doesn't make sense because I don't know if you guys knew this, but like Teddy also buys her a car at one point.
Yeah.
Which I was like, that's crazy.
Which is what she uses to haul ass down the street all the time. She's also, when you mentioned that earlier, she was cited as drag racing with dudes.
Yeah.
So it's
she drag race with dudes. She would caught selling loose cigarettes at weddings and stuff, and I was like, "Come on, Alice."
Well, when she got married, I don't know if you didn't mention that when she cut her wedding cake, she cut it with a fucking sword.
Yeah, she cut it with a sword, which honestly, sick. You know what? I'm just gonna say it. I think instead of wedding rings, we should start exchanging like swords. I'd be okay with it.
I mean, I don't disagree.
Because just imagine, be like every married man walking around with a sword, you'd be like, that guy's married.
Yeah.
That's how you know.
We do that now, but I mean,
I just want more people to just carry on. So that way I'd be like, all right, cool. That guy's taken. She has a sword, she's taken.
You know,
I walking around with just 2 katana blades, be like, oh, that's a second marriage.
Some people wouldn't be able to carry all the swords they would fucking. No way.
8 swords, just constantly blasting Jimmy Buffett in the background.
I think that's a little bit much. I say we just do what we're doing now. We just carry guns and call it good.
Right, fine. But it's still pretty sick that she cut a cake with a sword. She's like, nah, I got this. Because in my head, it's the anime sequence of this is just like, you know how they cut in like the, what is it called? Manga?
Yeah, manga.
Yeah, it's like almost comic book style where it's ding!
Yeah.
And then the cake just like kind of like slides off the rest.
Yeah, it's like after they cut it, then they put it back in the sheath and it slowly slides apart.
Yeah.
Of course. It's walking around with a 3-foot razor blade, basically. Makes sense.
But I also just love the fact that like it's stuff like that made her like really crazy. Because I mean, again, in her purse she carried her snake, Emily Spinach, a pocket size like it was the Constitution, I think it was,
and then a revolver,
and then I think she also had like a knife in there at some point. But honestly, I was like, what a pretty solid purse. No mints, no pads, just nah. This is the essentials.
I can't disagree. The Constitution and a gun. I mean, the snake is just like a bonus. Kind of makes you really wonder, like, if someone ever went through her purse, if they made that mistake at one point.
I just don't understand. Like, you look over to a girl at a party and she's just putting a dead rat in her purse, and you're like, what the fuck?
gotta feed homeboy in there.
Don't worry, my purse is hungry.
Definitely strange for more than one reason, for sure. What do you make of what she said about President Hoover?
Which part are you referring to?
Well, when Hoover became president, she was quoted as saying that the Hoover vacuum was more exciting than President Hoover.
Oh yeah, no, she didn't care. She thought Hoover was very boring, very bland, and she was very outspoken about some of the stuff she said about Hoover. Granted, I think the only person she said anything nice to was like midway through JFK's presidency. It wasn't even during his like run. I think like halfway through, she goes, "You know what? He's pretty cool," and I think it's because of all the partying he was doing. I think she's like, game recognizes game. because everybody else she talks, I'm not kidding, mad smack. She's just like, this guy sucks. He's a blowhard. He doesn't deserve it. And then like even when anytime her dad's ready, and she's like, man, you couldn't even get like one of the 2 major parties. You had to go make your own bull moose. Come on. Like she's just trash talking the whole time. Is hysterical. And I mean, to the point where after the bull moose party and he doesn't get that election, he's like, you know what? I'm going on a safari.
I'm gonna shoot a bunch of things.
Yeah, like he just gets pissed and he takes his oldest son and they go whatever down the Amazon rainforest.
Which, not to bleed off of her, but Roosevelt's life that's a whole nother thing.
Oh, dude, he is.
That's where we get the teddy bear from.
What a great story.
Yeah, but that's for another time.
It's another time, but the fact that how insanely crazy this man's life was so crazy it bled into his daughter's life, because obviously she got these opportunities and stuff because of him, but she is a hard-headed, stubborn mule like her father that just wasn't accepted at the time, and I think that's why it's such a big deal.
To say that teenage dirtbag, that I think that term, again with the satanic panic thing, this was obviously a different time period prior to what we had with the satanic panic, but a lot of the things that she did are still in line and in theme with the things that happened in the 80s moving forward, 70s and 80s.
Yeah, so which is why I was like, oh, this is such a great like tie-in because of all this. I mean, we have the voodoo.
Satanism.
Yeah, that word.
That word.
That word. But, you know, like, you get that. You get her rebellion. And the fact that, like, she also wasn't known for wearing dresses either. We didn't really talk about that. She was usually wearing pants. Which was starting to come into, like, more... It became more trendy.
Because she did it.
But she was also in the leading front of it. But I also thought that was really cool.
Because wearing pants was also frowned upon.
She also had her own color of blue, too.
Yes, it was a blue-gray color. They actually named it Alice Gray or Alice Blue, something like that. Strange, right? Because of the popularity. Because that was when Roosevelt first became president. When she came, like they had their inauguration and all that. She was wearing that color, and then she wore it pretty often to where the media latched onto it and said, "Hey, this is like this particular color is her color." And it was pretty famous all over the country. A lot of other women wore that color, which is also crazy.
Yeah.
Paris Hilton without Paris Hilton, right?
It is...
Great comparison, honestly.
It's a great comparison because I don't have proof. I've never really dived into Paris Hilton, but I guarantee you, if someone was like, oh yeah, Paris Hilton was definitely calling like TMZ to be like, hey, Paris Hilton's going to be at this bar, it wouldn't surprise me, you know? Imagine how much trouble Alice would have been in if she had things like TMZ to call.
What's it like when you're your own TMZ, essentially your own TMZ handler? Because like you said, she was calling the press or giving tips to the press saying, hey, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Also, I just don't understand, like, the amount of, like, how outrageous and wild you are. The fact that, like, your father has to be like, okay, I can't call the normal babysitter. Secretary of War, we're sending the military to watch this girl. And hopefully everything's alright.
Fucking wish for the best. Like, that's it.
The fact that, like, during all of this, is that, like, we could look back and be like, dude, she was crazy and wild, but yet people were so, like, that's just Alice, and loved her.
That's what I was saying earlier. I can't find the proper words to explain, like, that's just that's just her. How do you get away with that? I guess because when she first came into the political eye, like the nation's sight, so to speak, she was just that way. And she's had a lot of good things said about her by other people, even though she's been fucking sipping haterade since haterade was fucking a thing.
Yeah.
That there are a lot of presidents that, even though she spoke pretty ill about them, even after the fact, they were like, yeah, she was all right. She was a pretty good person. She was different, but, she had her own style, right?
I mean, if she lived long enough for TV to evolve to where she got to watch some documentaries, she would have made one of those 50 Cent documentaries. You know what I'm saying?
Just fucking... The whole... Oh, God, I don't even want to touch on that. I'll leave it alone.
But I was like, she would have made one of those... like Diddy 50 Cent documentaries.
That's what I was going to say.
Where he goes and buys the other guy's bike.
That's what I was going to say. I didn't want to go that far because...
She'd make one about her father. She would definitely make one about her father.
Stepmom for sure.
Oh, she hated her stepmom.
She would be... I could just imagine, like, if they had camera footage back in the day, which they didn't, but imagine if they had that technology, just the amount of fucking hell she could raise with that.
I mean... Oh, dude, she would be crazy. I mean, and I also want to say, like, what she was doing in this time was also unheard of. Drag racing, chain smoking cigarettes, going to parties and serving other people as your father is running the country. Imagine going to the bar, like, tonight, and Baron Corbin's just there handing out Coors Lights. Baron Corbin. Baron Trump. I don't know. I said Baron Corbin. Baron Trump.
I was just about to say, I don't know who Corbin is, but all right.
Baron Trump.
Him walking around just handing shit out.
Yeah, that 8-foot tall monstrosity.
Monstrosity?
No, he's not. I'm sorry. I take that back. I really love my life. I don't want to commit it. But let's be real. every time they show Barrett in the press, he grows another foot. And I don't understand how it's possible. But this fool is just continuously growing.
Yeah, I don't know what he's eating or what he's drinking. It has to be like the healthiest shit ever, because this dude has a growth spurt every time he's on TV.
I don't know. His father's always eating McDonald's and Diet Cokes. Maybe that's the secret of...
Yeah, the preservatives keep you around a lot longer.
I just don't know. He just keeps getting taller, and I'm like...
I don't know where the gene came from, because Trump's like, what, 6'2", 6... No, he's taller than that, right? He's like 6'4".
I think he's like 6'3", 6'4", yeah.
So, I mean, Trump's not a small guy, you know.
But his son's getting there, and he's only, what, like 14, 15?
Yeah.
Dude, this guy's taller than, like, D1 players.
If he's not playing basketball at some point, I don't know what he's doing.
Because I know he's taller than Eric.
Yeah, he is.
Because I want to say Eric capped at like 6'1".
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't have like.
But I'm just saying.
I don't have like baseball cards for their stats or anything.
No, I don't. But I just think it's funny that like you get some of these presidents' kids that are serving cigarettes, and I just couldn't imagine seeing Barron at a club just handing out Coors Lights. Dude, just him and Shaq hanging out. Just be like, all right, cool.
Like, we always have to bring Shaq into this somehow. I don't know if it's been on this podcast enough times or not, but.
No, Shaq is just going to be sprinkled into every episode for the rest of the season.
That's what I was going to say, because there's a lot of times Shaq comes up in our normal conversations.
Maybe it's not even in our podcast. I honestly think it's just we talk about Shaq so much. You know why? Because Shaq is the most influential. No.
Could be.
You know, I'm not even kidding. I watched probably like 8 different videos about Shaq today.
Your growing obsession with Shaq.
I don't know what it is.
It's almost unhealthy at this point.
It's not? But
we're getting off topic.
We are getting way off topic about teenage dirtbags and Alice Roosevelt.
Yes.
But I mean, we have all these quotes from different people just saying how crazy she was and doing all these things. But it links it back to the fear, the panic, the satanic panic of just like, oh, we can't have our youth doing this and that. And even though they were okay with Alice doing it, when other teens started doing it across the country, it became
it's a problem.
A problem. It became a like caution tale that they would tell.
Well, other people, because she had been around for so long, right? She passes away near the beginning of what we are now calling a satanic panic. Mm-hmm. She started this lifestyle, right? Carried that all the way to the 70s where she passed. And then after that, now we have the Manson stuff. We have all this. Anyway, we got into it on the last part of this podcast. And you have all these things. It kind of makes you ask the question of how come no one turned that around and asked her that before she was gone? Because of all the wild things that she did. Was it just chalked up as that's just her? Or was there still that soft spot from the media because of that? Of just she was always been in the public eye versus everyone in Congress legitimately being told, no, this is a real problem now.
Yeah.
And we no stone should be left unturned, because remember, the beginning of Satanic Panic, that was how they looked at it, is no stone left unturned. We have to get to the bottom of what's causing all this.
But again, I also think you made a great point in the last episode where I think you dig to a certain point and we just kind of turn our heads.
Far enough.
Yeah.
Nixon, speaking of that, President Nixon did have some comments about her, which I thought was also kind of strange. Jimmy Carter, who she never met. She refused. She met everybody, which another thing I think was kind of weird.
She's like, if I want to talk shit about you, I need to see you face to face.
She met all these people, and Jimmy Carter was like, oh, I think it'd be neat to meet her. She immediately was like, nah. Marked him off the list and was like, I'll never meet this guy as long as I live. Actively avoided meeting
President Carter. Then out of spite, President Carter lives to like 112.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he was like 102.
She never met him during her entire life. She refused to meet up with him, refused to have any...
All right, hear me out. Meeting Alice, they all ended up dying relatively young.
I mean, look at Nixon. He was quoted as saying, quote, no one, no matter how famous, could ever outshine her, unquote. Which pretty wild to hear from Nixon, who's supposed to be a pretty conservative guy.
Honestly, I in my head, I 100%. But also in my head, I hear Nixon saying this, and then Elvis just being like, "Yo, what do you mean?" I feel like Elvis would be the jealous type, be like, "Yo, Nixon, what?"
Thought we were boys. Whoa, what do you mean? What happened?
Yeah,
I don't know, Elvis. You're just not as interesting.
I know you're a rock star, but
yeah, you take your 16-year-old girlfriend over there. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna drop that. Fuck that guy.
But that's cool that I mean, she meets everyone except for Carter.
Yeah, and she lived her entire life past and never met Carter.
You know what I'm thinking about it? She probably did meet some of the political people that are still currently in Congress.
Yeah, she has been around for in the political spectrum for what, 6 decades or something, some wild number like that. Actively in the political spectrum, she is also one of her nicknames given to her by the people that are in DC. She's known as the Washington's Second Monument, Washington DC's Second Monument.
Sick.
I was like, that's a pretty hard ass.
So just queen of the teenage dirtbags over here. And
her philosophy, that was one thing she was quoted at saying in DC was, her philosophy was to fill what's empty what's full, and to scratch where it itches. Kind of strange. But the Second Washington Monument is strolled around all over DC. Apparently never caught any fallout for any of the shit she did for her entire life.
Sick. She didn't apologize for nothing. See, this is what's wrong with cancel culture.
Didn't apologize for shit. She was just like, fuck you, this is how I am. Now, I'm not saying everything she did was good or right or wholesome or any of that. That's just
moral or
just her life. That's what she did. She was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do this. Which you have to respect somebody that's just like, nah, I'm gonna stand on this, and that's what it's the hell I die.
100%. That she's such a very interesting person.
Well, Jimmy Carter. Speaking of Carter, this is what he wrote. These are just a few notes that I have.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote, quote, "She had style, she had grace, and she had a sense of humor that kept generations of political newcomers to Washington wondering which was worse, to be skewered by her wit or to be ignored by her," unquote. Fucking Carter, he's just like, I don't know what's worse. Hanging out with her and her being an ass to you to your face, or her ignoring you. What speaks worse about you? And she never met Carter.
I'm gonna make a comparison to that, but I'll have to do it off the pod because it reminds me of somebody, and I'm all like, I want to be like, sounds familiar.
Okay, all right, off the pod, got you.
But that is great that he's like, man, I really want her to make fun of me, but I don't know if I can handle it, and I don't know if it's worse that she's not talking about me.
It's weird, right? That's a really strange.
But imagine that's a lot of power that she got at what, 17?
Yeah, 15.
I mean, 15 when you talk about especially when you talk about her governorship.
Yeah.
But I mean, that times the country.
And I only magnified.
Oh, and then during her life, the things that she must have seen.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, we're adding states.
Yeah.
It's great. Her life is
the territories. We got the Virgin Islands. I mean, you can
the
go
wars.
down the list.
Her life, the things that she must have seen and done, and I mean, oh, that's crazy. I love this. I don't know why. Just her life seems. I just don't understand. And I said this before because I've been pitching this idea for a year now of doing these episodes and covering Alice, because I think Alice should be a movie. I think, or at least be the inspiration to a movie. I think there is a buddy comedy that you could do with Alice and Taft, at least.
Alice and Taft running around early Europe, early 21st century Europe. I think that'd be great. Or not 21st century, because that'd be too far. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Near modern time Europe. I think that someone out there not because of this podcast, but I think someone out there is going to do that at some point because they're gonna look back through history and they're gonna try to find some people that stand out, and she's definitely gonna be one of them. My question is, why is it that when we go over this stuff that she's the controversies of her life, why do we still give her a light pass now? Even though she was a teenage dirtbag and grew to be a woman dirtbag.
I'm gonna say this.
How does she still get a pass?
I'm gonna say this, and I want everyone not to hate me for it.
No promises.
I think it's because she's a woman.
she's a woman. Okay.
I honestly think if a dude was doing some of the things and saying some of the things that she said, he would have been shot. Stabbed
at least.
Yeah. And that's just my opinion.
There's no tolerance for that shit.
I just don't think you could go around cursing people and be like,
This begs the question: who lived a life similar to this that we should look into? If you guys out there listening happen to know someone, because I don't know everything and I don't know everybody that existed, but if you happen to know someone out there, let us know.
Yeah, let us know. I would love to learn more about that, because I mean, her life again is so crazy, and then you actually put it against like the world during this time frame, and you look at like the wars that she went through. I mean, she watched the Titanic set sail.
Probably. She wasn't on it.
No, obviously, but I mean, like, that's 1912? 1912?
Right before the Federal Reserve Act.
She's watching all of this. That's crazy.
That's a little breadcrumb for the guys that are part of the... Anyway, sorry.
That's a little breadcrumb. We'll talk about that later. No.
just weird that everyone on Titanic that didn't make it out.
It's going to be an episode.
Okay.
I'm going to say probably season 4, but this is definitely an episode that we'll talk about.
Gotcha.
Because the Titanic... Honestly, if we do a Titanic episode, and I'm going to say it now, it might be a 2-parter.
It would have to be.
For the fact that there's at least 2 big parts of the Titanic that we need to talk about. We need to talk about the whole fact that, did the Titanic sink? And then we need to do an episode of, why did the Titanic sink?
Mm-hmm. Which is a pretty big subject.
It is a big subject. And I mean, it all comes down to definitely a type of berg. But...
That's great. That's great.
That was good. God.
I'll high five you. Fine.
Yes. All right. Everyone, mark your calendars.
This was the first time ever JD got a fucking solid nod from me. Got you.
That was good. All right. So with that, I don't think I can top that anymore. But thank you all for listening. I knew this was gonna be like an out there episode, so I want to say thank you guys so much for sticking around and listening to the madness that is me ranting about a crazy, rebellious teenage dirtbag. Please go check out the website, thebunkerbuddies.podcast.com. You'll find merch. You'll find all that. Hopefully, it is up. But if it's not, check out all the social media. Go check out the Instagram, the TikToks, the Facebook. You will find all my information and everything going on with the Bunker Buddies if you go and follow all those social medias. And while you're there, go check out Beer Beans Bullets. Beer Beans Bullets got the Instagram, we got the YouTube, and we also got Patreon. What's on Patreon?
Behind the scenes content. I'm also currently scrolling through all of the endless amounts of hard drives and SD cards that I've had over the years, trying to find all of the videos that have been deleted by YouTube without warning, and trying to find a way to find all these, re-edit them, and then package them and put them in Patreon. So with a low bar of entry of $3 at the time of this recording, I feel like everybody has the opportunity to see it.
Yeah, I mean, $3. That's a beer. If you can afford to buy me one beer a month, you can do this.
It's $3, man. It's like buying a stick of gum now.
It's cheaper than your cup of coffee.
Almost.
Your Starbucks cup of coffee is like $7.
That is way too much for coffee. I don't care how.
I'm just saying, like, obviously our coffee is not that much.
Right.
But if you go to Starbucks or Dutch Bros or 7 Brew or whatever there is now.
Yeah.
Double Dutch, whatever.
It's like 20 different coffee companies, but yes.
Yeah. But they're like $7 and it's all sugar. Anyways, thank you all for listening. Stay tuned. We have some more episodes coming out. I'm going to be trying to post them every Tuesday. So remember, trust no signal. Stay locked. Stay loaded. We'll see you next time. We're out.